You know how a typical, like, digital advertising budget usually works,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah, you essentially just throw this huge chunk of money into a black box operated by some massive tech company. You cross your fingers and, well, you hope for the best.
Right, and maybe you get a few fleeting clicks.
Exactly. A few clicks from people who are probably just trying to close your pop-up ad anyway, and then poof, the money is gone.
It's totally transactional and honestly really frustrating.
It is. But we recently got our hands on a briefing document that outlines a system that completely turns that on its head. It literally weaponizes community goodwill instead of just, algorithmically chasing eyeballs.
Yeah, it's a genuinely disruptive model.
It really is. It's a model where your marketing budget doesn't just buy an ad. It literally underwrites a vital 20-year-old community institution. And in exchange for that, it unlocks this massive, highly targeted media distribution network.
Right, so we are looking at the sponsorship mechanics for two very specific publications today in the accessibility and access technology space. Those are Top Tech Tidbits and Access Information News. And, I mean, the way they have structured this completely defies late-stage capitalism's normal approach to media and marketing.
It really does. So welcome to today's deep dive. If you are a marketer trying to reach decision makers or a business leader in the accessibility space, or honestly just someone fascinated by how sustainable online communities are actually built, you need to hear this.
You really do.
Because this isn't just about placing a banner ad. We're going to explore how to access an incredibly protective, highly verified audience without acting like some corporate interloper.
Exactly.
But, to understand the economics of all this, we really have to start with the audience itself. Like, who is actually reading these newsletters?
Well, we're talking about two distinct but complementary publications here. So the flagship one is Top Tech Tidbits.
Okay.
And that's been around since 2004. It hits inboxes every single Thursday morning at exactly 6 a.m. Eastern Time.
Wow, 2004. That is ancient in internet years.
It really is. And the audience is massive for this specific niche. They have over 45,000 subscribers.
That's huge.
Yeah, and this includes blind, low vision, deaf, hard of hearing, deaf-blind, neurodivergent, and disabled professionals, plus educators and the organizations that serve them all over the world.
And from my understanding of the briefing, the Thursday newsletter is purely the practical stuff, right? Like the nuts and bolts.
Precisely. Top Tech Tidbits focuses entirely on access technology. So if there's a new screen reader update, a productivity tip, a how-to guide, or like a new Braille display hitting the market, it's going to be in there.
Gotcha.
It basically functions as this indispensable weekly toolkit for professionals navigating the digital and physical world.
Right, but obviously the landscape of accessibility isn't just about the gadgets or the software,
No, definitely not.
Which is why in November 2022, they launched a sister publication, Access Information News. And that one drops on Mondays, also at 6 a.m. Eastern, and it reaches over 44,000 subscribers in that exact same community.
Right, so the Monday publication handles the broader ecosystem. It's covering policy shifts, legal developments and disability rights, advocacy movements, just broader systemic news.
Okay, so it's like a 1-2 punch.
Exactly. Monday gives you the landscape and Thursday gives you the tools. And combined, they're reaching over 89,000 readers every single week.
Okay, a combined 89,000 readers is just a massive footprint. But here's the thing that actually stopped me in my tracks when I was reading the data.
That engagement metrics.
Yes, the engagement metrics. Because look, a typical B2B business-to-business marketing email is considered highly successful if it gets like a 20% open rate.
Right.
Which means 80% of your audience completely ignores you, and marketers celebrate that. So what are the open rates for these two newsletters?
It's kind of wild. For Top Tech Tidbits, the 12-month average open rate is 46%.
46%? That's insane.
And it has a click rate of 42%.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And Access Information News sits at a 47% open rate and a 34% click rate. Oh, and the bounce rate. So the number of emails that just fail to deliver, that's hovering right near 1%.
I mean, those numbers almost sound like a typo. How is that even mechanically possible in modern email marketing? Like, nobody opens emails like that anymore.
Right. Well, it really comes down to a deliberate rejection of modern, fully automated aggregation.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
So while they do use AI to aggregate the massive volume of news that's out there, The final product is entirely curated by human editors.
Oh, interesting. I want to dig into that for a second. Because AI is pretty good at summarizing articles these days.
Yeah?
What does a human editor bring to an email newsletter that an AI just misses?
Well, AI is great at scraping keywords and summarizing text, sure,
Yeah,
but it completely lacks the lived experience of navigating the world with a disability.
right. That makes total sense.
Like, an algorithm doesn't know if a new software update actually breaks compatibility with a really popular screen reader, right?
Mm.
But a human editor who actually uses that screen reader, they know instantly.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They understand the nuance, the historical context of certain tech companies, and what actually matters on a practical, day-to-day level to this specific community.
So there's a huge trust factor there.
Exactly. When a reader opens that email, they know they aren't getting some algorithmically optimized fluff. They're getting highly vetted, critical information curated by their peers.
Mhm.
And over 2 decades, that builds an incredibly deep reservoir of trust.
Yeah, you aren't going to ignore an email if it consistently saves you time and actually solves your daily problems.
Exactly.
But it's interesting, they didn't just rely on open rates to prove their value to sponsors. The briefing document mentions this data verification process they did back in May 2026 using LinkedIn.
Yes, the hashing process.
Right. And before you gloss over this because it sounds super technical, the document says they hashed the list to protect privacy. What does that actually mean? Like, how do you verify someone's identity on LinkedIn without completely violating their privacy?
It's actually a really great technical question. So hashing is this one-way mathematical function.
Okay.
Basically, they take an email address on their subscriber list and run it through an algorithm. And that turns it into a long string of completely random-looking characters. That's a hash.
So it's just gibberish at that point.
Right, totally unreadable. And LinkedIn does the exact same thing to the email addresses in their massive professional database. Then the two systems simply compare the hashes.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, the strings of gibberish match. LinkedIn essentially confirms, yes, this person is an active professional, without either side ever exchanging the actual readable email addresses.
So it's basically a blind handshake.
Exactly, a blind handshake.
That is clever. So they do this massive privacy-protected handshake with LinkedIn. What were the actual results of that?
The results were staggering, honestly.
Yeah.
LinkedIn confirmed an 85% match rate for active member profiles across both of the publications.
Hold on. 85%.
85%.
I mean, most of my own LinkedIn connections are like recruiters I haven't spoken to in a decade or people who haven't updated their jobs since 2018. Is an 85% active match rate really that unusual?
It is practically unheard of in this space. I mean,
I see.
LinkedIn's own published baseline for a typical B2B email list is somewhere between 30% and 60%.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because lists decay quickly. You know, people change jobs, companies go under, people use burner emails to sign up for newsletters. The fact that 85% of this audience are verified, active professionals proves that this publication is treated as a career-long resource.
They don't outgrow it.
Exactly. They take it with them from job to job.
Okay, so let's summarize the leverage here. You have an audience of 89,000 highly engaged, verified decision makers and influencers within the disability community. They open the emails at double the industry standard, and they trust the human editors implicitly. It's like the difference between buying a billboard on a deserted highway hoping someone drives by versus, I don't know, being handed a microphone and an exclusive room full of verified industry decision makers.
That's a perfect way to put it.
So as a marketer, if I want to get in front of that audience, I would expect to pay an absolute premium, like thousands of dollars a month, easily.
Oh, by any standard commercial metric, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
A media company holding the keys to that kind of walled garden would charge a total fortune.
But the pricing model detailed in this document is completely baffling from a traditional capitalist perspective.
It really is.
So the publications are run as not-for-profit projects by a company called Mind Vault Solutions, and they charge a flat rate of $200 a month for a full sponsorship.
Yeah, $200. And that isn't just an arbitrary number either.
Right.
Their entire operational model is transparently mapped out to merely cover costs, not maximize profit. The sponsorship revenue exists strictly to fund the free distribution of the newsletters. Wow. In fact, if the sponsorship slots aren't full, MindVault Solutions actually covers the financial shortfall out of their own pockets just to ensure the community never loses access.
That is incredible dedication.
Yeah. And the pricing is based on a strict mathematical formula. It's just $50 per month for every 10,000 readers reached.
Okay, so with 89,000 readers, that roughly translates to the $200 a month.
Exactly.
But wait, if it's that cheap, Why wouldn't they just sell 100 sponsorship slots and build this massive war chest for the publication? Most media companies would just cram in 50 ads and double the price. But the document says they strictly cap the slots at 24 per newsletter.
Right, they cap it at 24 to preserve the user experience, which is particularly vital for this specific demographic.
How so?
Well, imagine using a screen reader to navigate an email that is just cluttered with 50 or 60 different ad reads.
Oh, that sounds awful.
It would be. The cognitive load and the auditory fatigue would just be immense. So by capping it at 24, they prevent the sponsor wall from becoming overwhelming.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it ensures the newsletter remains accessible. And as a byproduct, it means each of those 24 sponsors actually gets meaningful, uncluttered visibility.
So it's an artificial scarcity, but it's done for entirely ethical user experience reasons, not to artificially drive up the price.
Exactly.
And I understand there are different commitment tiers, but they all basically revolve around that core math, right? Like we can go monthly at $200, or you can go quarterly for $600, and they give you a free featured advertisement, which usually costs $200 on its own anyway. Or you can commit annually for $2,400, and they give you 5 free featured ads.
Yes, and there's this really fascinating loyalty mechanism built into all of this. Because the price is tied to that formula, the $50 per 10,000 readers, the base price will inevitably rise as the subscriber base grows.
Right, as the audience gets bigger.
Exactly. However, existing sponsors are grandfathered in.
No way.
Yes, you keep your original rate for as long as you maintain your sponsorship consecutively.
That is incredible. So if you got in early, you are paying pennies on the dollar for an audience that just keeps expanding.
Yep.
Let's break down the tangible deliverables, though. Like, for that $200 a month, what is actually happening for the sponsor?
You receive a pretty comprehensive package every single week. So first, your brand logo sits on the sponsor wall, which is visible at the very top of every newsletter and on the homepage.
Okay, high visibility.
Definitely. Second, you get a dedicated sponsor profile permanently hosted on their site, which details exactly who you are and what you do.
And there is a dynamic element to it too, right? Like the weekly classified ad.
Yes, you get your own ad block in every issue, and you can update the copy and the links every single week if you want to.
Oh, that's really flexible.
It is. So if you're launching a product in May, hosting a webinar in June, and running a big sale in July, your messaging pivots instantly without any extra cost. Plus, you get a standing 50% discount on any of their high visibility placements, like a sponsored tidbit or a sponsored news article.
That's a huge perk. I also saw they include free link tracking. The document mentioned UTM parameters. Can you break down how that actually works for a business owner who maybe isn't a marketing tech wizard?
Sure, UTM stands for Urchin Tracking Module, but honestly, the name really doesn't matter.
Good, because that sounds overly complicated.
Right. What matters is that it's just a specific tag added to the very end of a web link. When a reader clicks your ad in the newsletter, that tag travels with them over to your website.
Right.
And it tells your Google Analytics dashboard, hey, this specific visitor came exactly from this specific ad in Top Tech Tidbits on this specific date.
Oh, wow. So it completely removes the guesswork.
Completely. You don't have to wonder if the sponsorship is actually driving traffic. You can see it right there in your own internal data in real time.
I love that. Total transparency. It's honestly less like buying a banner ad and more like underwriting a public broadcasting show, but with actual measurable B2B marketing ROI.
That's a great comparison.
But, you also flagged something to me earlier about the permanent SEO benefits. Search engine optimization. How does a monthly email newsletter sponsorship impact a company standing on Google?
This is perhaps the quietest, but honestly most powerful benefit of the entire package.
Really?
Yeah. In the world of search engines, Google ranks websites based on authority. And one of the main ways it determines that authority is by looking at who is linking to you.
Okay, sure. Backlinks.
Right. When you sponsor these newsletters, your sponsor profile and your logo are archived on their domain permanently. And this is a highly credible, highly relevant domain that has been continuously updated for 20 years.
Oh, so Google loves them.
Exactly. A backlink from a 20-year-old authority site is essentially like a permanent letter of recommendation to Google's algorithm. Even if you cancel your sponsorship a year later, that digital footprint stays live. It continuously funnels referral traffic and boosts your own site search ranking indefinitely.
Wow. So for $200 a month, you get B2B leads, flexible ad copy, concrete real-time tracking, and a permanent SEO boost. I mean, if the deep dive ended right here, it would already be a masterclass in undervalued marketing.
Truly.
But everything we've discussed so far is basically just the admission ticket to this hidden multiplier. This is really the centerpiece of the whole document. Sponsoring either of these newsletters automatically makes you a member of something called the PWD Media Distribution Co-op.
The PWD, Persons with Disabilities Media Distribution Co-op, yes. This is where the scale of this investment goes from impressive to just truly massive.
Okay, so pretend I know nothing about media syndication. What exactly is this co-op?
Okay, think about the tragedy of the commons in social media. You have dozens of amazing organizations, advocates, and blind or low-vision business leaders, and they're all posting really great content.
Right.
But they're all just shouting into their own isolated follower bases. It's totally fractured.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
Well, the co-op solves this by pooling their resources together. It is a cooperative network where more than 24 of these leaders and publishers have essentially linked their social media channels into a single unified distribution system.
So instead of trying to build 45 different audiences completely from scratch, they just wired all their megaphones together.
Exactly. The network spans over 45 individual social channels across Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and Mastodon. When a message is broadcast through the co-op, it reaches more than 190,000 readers within the disability community in a single push.
190,000 readers?
Yeah. It is, without a doubt, the largest, highest quality, disability-specific distribution network on the planet. And the only way to gain access to it is by being one of those 24 newsletter sponsors.
Okay, so as a sponsor, how do I actually use this? I can't imagine I just, log into a portal and blast 45 different pages with a generic corporate message. Different platforms have entirely different cultures, not to mention technical limitations.
You hit on the exact logistical nightmare of social media management. You can't just copy and paste.
Right, people hate that.
Yeah, a long, nuanced essay that works great on LinkedIn will just get cut off by character limits on X. A casual, community-focused tone that works on a Facebook group might feel totally out of place somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And crucially, in the accessibility space, the alt text formatting for images has to be flawless, and it has to be customized for how each platform's specific screen reader integration works.
Right, of course. So who does all that transloading? Do I have to sit there and format 45 different versions of my posts?
No, and that is the absolute genius of the operation. As a co-op member, you submit just one piece of content to Mindful Solutions.
Just one.
Just one. Maybe it's a press release, a link to a new product, and a photo. Their human team takes that single submission and refactors it.
Okay, so refactoring is basically having a local guide in 45 different countries who knows exactly the right dialect, the right etiquette, and the technical rules for each specific room.
That is a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
It's like hiring a dedicated PR team that instantly translates and formats your single press release for 45 different highly targeted publications simultaneously. They rewrite the copy to fit character limits, they adjust the hashtags to match platform cultures, and they ensure the alt text is perfectly structured.
Wow.
Then, using their centralized tools, they schedule that meticulously formatted content to hit all 45-plus channels simultaneously. And once it goes live, you receive a full report confirming exactly what was posted, where it was posted, and when.
I mean, that amount of manual labor, strategic formatting, and distribution would cost thousands of dollars a month if you hired an external PR firm to do it. What does the co-op actually charge the sponsor for this service?
It is a pure labor-only rate. There is absolutely no corporate markup. The cost is $25 per post per date across the entire network.
I'm sorry, $25 total.
Total.
To format and distribute a message to 190,000 highly targeted readers across 45 channels. That basically covers a couple of artisanal coffees.
I know, it is genuinely shocking the first time you read it. But it reinforces their entire philosophy.
Right.
The co-op was built as a resource to amplify the community, not to squeeze margins out of sponsors. That $25 strictly compensates the human labor required to do the refactoring and scheduling. But again, this massive subsidized megaphone is completely locked behind the newsletter sponsorship.
Ah, okay.
You have to be a trusted sponsor first to get the keys to the co-op.
Okay. The mechanics of the newsletters, the SEO benefits, and this unbelievable co-op multiplier. I mean, they sound flawless on paper. It makes total logical sense. But theory is one thing.
True.
If I am a skeptical business owner, I want to know what happens when real money hits the table. Does this system actually generate sales?
Well, the briefing document includes some very candid proof from the real world. A great example is the testimonial from Barry Shore. He's the founder of Guidelights and Gadgets.
Okay.
He's a really prominent figure in the access technology space. And by his own admission, he came to this incredibly skeptical.
As he should.
Right. He was an old school guy who just wasn't convinced that an email newsletter would move the needle on actual product sales.
Skepticism is healthy. It's so easy to get burned in digital marketing. So what happened when he actually bought a slot?
Well, within 2 weeks of his sponsorship going live, the ROI materialized.
2 weeks?
Yeah, he reported generating a highly qualified lead or more per issue almost immediately. But, the most insightful part of his testimonial wasn't even just the sales figures.
What was it?
It was his realization about the audience's psychology.
Let me guess. The readers didn't just magically discover he existed. They already knew who he was.
Spot on. Barry realized that a large portion of the audience was already completely aware of Guidelights and Gadgets. They knew his brand.
Right.
But passive brand awareness doesn't equal a sale. They simply hadn't felt a specific urge to reach out and make a purchase until they saw him actively sponsoring Talk Tech Tidbits.
That is the psychology of trust in action right there. It proves that repetition, combined with community goodwill, bridges the gap between passive brand awareness and active sales.
Exactly.
People didn't just see a banner ad for his gadgets. They saw his tangible financial support for a community resource they rely on every single week. It gave them the green light. It signaled, hey, this guy is one of us. He supports our ecosystem. I feel good giving him my money.
Yes. He eventually went on the record, calling the publication the undisputed leader in providing timely notices in the blindness technology world.
Wow.
And his story isn't isolated. You see similar feedback from John Panarese of McForTheBlind.com, who was one of the earliest sponsors. He noted that the visibility and click-throughs for his audio tutorials were incredibly impressive right out of the gate.
The pattern is undeniable. The audience is massive. They are verified professionals. They actually act on what they see, and the results materialize fast. And it's because the publication has spent 20 years doing the heavy lifting of building trust.
Exactly.
As a sponsor, you're just stepping into a warm room.
You are renting their credibility, essentially. And because it is capped at 24 slots, that credibility isn't diluted.
Right. So if you are listening to this and you represent a mission-driven company, an advocacy organization, or an access technology brand, how do you actually take the next step? Because obviously with only 24 capped slots, there isn't an infinite supply of inventory here.
Well, the next step is simply a conversation. The onboarding is personal. It's not some automated checkout cart because they want to ensure sponsors are actually a good fit for the community.
That makes sense.
And the slots are strictly first come, first served.
Okay, so for Top Tech Tidbits, the Thursday tech-focused newsletter, you can reach out directly via email at publisher@toptechtidbits.com, or you can just view the full breakdown of the packages at toptechtidbits.com/sponsorship-packages.
Yep. And if you want to reach the broader policy and advocacy audience through Monday's Access Information News, the email is sponsorships@accessinformationnews.com. And all their details are at accessinformationnews.com/sponsorship-packages.
And what about the centerpiece we spent all that time on? The 190,000 reader megaphone.
Oh, right. To dive into these specific mechanics and the requirements of the PWD Media Distribution Co-op, you can learn absolutely everything at a 10-newswire.com/PWD-MDC.
Fantastic. You know, what we have unpacked today is a complete paradigm shift in how we think about marketing value.
It really is.
You can go to any major tech platform today and buy rented attention. You can bid on keywords and chase people around the internet with tracking cookies all day long. But there are exceedingly few places where a nominal investment allows you to quietly fund the very infrastructure your audience relies on, and in return, that community actively vouches for you.
It forces a company to ask themselves a really important question. Do we want to be an interruption, or do we want to be an institution?
I love that framing. So we'll leave you with this final thought to mull over as you analyze your own outreach strategies. What if the future of effective, high ROI marketing isn't about finding a clever new algorithm to trick people into looking at your brand, but rather doing the radically simple work of quietly funding the exact resources your target audience needs to navigate their daily lives?
It's a game changer.
It really is. Think about how that changes the relationship from day one.
It transforms a customer into a true partner.
It really does. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.